It's been a busy year for Joan Lipkin, founder of That Uppity Theatre company. We'll meet her next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. Joan Lipkin founded That Uppity Theatre company in 1989. It's a company that focuses on original work and that highlights cultural diversity. And we welcome Joan Lipkin to the program. Hi, Joan.
Good morning.
Is that the whole thing in a nutshell?
Pretty much. Also to facilitate dialogue and hopefully social transformation.
We have a lot to talk about. It's been I was going to say a busy year, but it's been a busy 20 years for you.
It's been a busy life. It's been busy.
Yeah. We want to also mention that it was just recently announced, Joan, that you will be honored with the 2012 Arts and Education Council Innovator in Arts Award.
Right.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, what does that really mean, and what is an innovator of the arts?
Wow.
An arts innovator.
An arts innovator. I think it's those who dare to trod, perhaps where other people don't, you know. I mean, what does it mean to be an innovator? I think it really means to be a risk taker. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for people that aren't familiar with your work, when you're talking about taking chances and taking risks, you address a lot of topics that maybe other people don't address: disabilities, lifestyle issues, reproductive rights,
peace,
suicide
intervention. Yeah, I mean, we really look at issues that are the pressing issues of our time, and we also look at aesthetic forms that deal with this.
Is that always an easy audience to find for that? I mean, it's not your typical musical comedy.
No, it's not. No, but it is the thing that calls to me. You know, the late Steve Jobs said, "What would you get up at 4 a.m. in the morning for?" And I realize I would get up, and I do get up at 4 in the morning to think about having the difficult conversations that are really necessary for us to have a thriving democracy. And if we don't have diversity and we don't have appreciation of differences, we can't have a thriving democracy. Mm-hmm. and a place that we can all be together. And for me, theater has always been a place that can happen. I mean, it's really about conversation, whether it's conversation on stage or the conversation that takes place afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And you've certainly seen a lot of changes in these areas that you've dealt with over the last 20 years, right?
Yes.
From when you first started putting on plays about whatever it might be. I mean, society has changed, people's attitudes have changed, developed.
Really? Well, we did one of the first pieces of lesbian and gay theater that was ever done in the area. Some of my best friends are. And back then we had the sexual misconduct law, and we had a hard time getting the media to cover it because they said that nobody would be interested in this piece, which sold out and was extended for 4 times and has been produced all around the country. And here we are 20 years later, and we just performed a piece about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered issues for the military.
Huh,
so
that's amazing.
It is amazing. It's thrilling to see the kinds of progress that we're making.
Well, we're going to spend this program kind of looking back at a lot of different projects that you've done, and it will really showcase sort of the diversity of the type of issues that you've addressed. We have some videos and some pictures. The first thing we're going to take a look at is Intervision, and this is work that you did with blind children. Right.
Well, I've always been interested in disability, and we had a wonderful opportunity to work with blind children and youth, and oh, there they are. They're my kids, yeah. We worked with them. We did a lot of music and dance. We created our own rap, and it was really one of the most meaningful pieces that we've actually done. Because these children don't have access to the world in the same ways that other people do. And it was very meaningful for them to have us come and work with them.
We have a video we're going to take a look at in just a second of the Disability Project. I always found that's probably, if you're known for anything, that's probably it, don't you think?
Don't know, depends who you ask. It depends on which community you're in. Some people would say it's my work with reproductive choice, and others would say it's my work with the LGBT community. But certainly the Disability Project has been one of our flagship projects, and we did some of the first work about disability and performance in the country. We founded this project with occupational therapist Fran Cohn about 16 years ago, and we're now in the permanent collection of the Missouri History Museum and have been written up internationally, and we have performed for an estimated 100,000 people.
Right, and a thing to keep in mind is when you see disabled people in your work, I mean, they're really disabled.
Yes, they are.
I mean, that's the point of it all.
Yes, and that's part of what makes it so meaningful when you see it, is that you see the performance that really is written on their bodies. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at that right now. This is from the Disability Project.
Don't walk by like you won't understand, and don't assume what I'm capable of. We're all human beings, we all need love. When you stare or ignore, you restrain who I am. The talents I have, the future I plan. Our worlds may vary, but it's my reality. My identity is more than a disability. Everyone, round and round, the wheels keep on turning. With every sound, our hearts can keep learning. See the soul behind the difference. If you want to know the truth, really sure.
You know, and I would think, and that's great, I would think, you know, for disabled kids, it would probably be the first time a lot of them have been involved in theater, I would think.
Well, our ensemble, we actually have adults, but what we do is go out to a lot of schools and conferences and community centers and events like that. And so it may very well be the first time that people with disabilities see themselves represented on stage. That was done at the Edward D. Jones Dome.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, in front of an audience of about 6,500 people. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Louis Awards. This was something that you established, right?
Oh, the Louis. Oh, the Louis. There they are. There's my guys. You know, I had an ensemble. Well, I had a performance series for years at the St. Marcus Theater, and it was performance art. And people would come up to me and say, gosh, I wish I could do that. And so I began to think, well, why couldn't you? So I started an ensemble of gay men, and it was called the Louis. There they are, laying on the floor, doing some warm-ups, but mostly sort of, I think, hamming it up for the camera. And we created work about their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And that was great. We've done a lot of work with the LGBT community. We also did a project with LGBT youth, and that project was called Apple Pie. We did that for many years as well.
We have another video to take a look at, and this was a show I saw on stage. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? The State of Marriage.
Oh, it was a year ago.
Was it just a year ago down at the Regional Arts Commission, I think,
yes.
on Delmar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to see that. Set that up for us before we see the video.
Well, we wanted to look at how same-sex marriage sort of paralleled what was going on with heterosexual marriage, and also look at the historic bus trips that were being organized out of St. Louis. People would actually ride a bus from St. Louis. This was organized by Scott Emanuel and his partner Ed Reggie, and they would take a bus all the way to Iowa to get married where it's legal, and then come back to St. Louis where it isn't. And I thought that was really interesting and politically and culturally significant, right? Mm-hmm. So we made a theater piece about that, and it's kind of like this great fantasia with cabaret singers and a drag queen bus driver and 3 different couples, a heterosexual couple who are trying very hard to get married, and their service keeps getting disrupted, and it was a great piece.
Well, we have a clip of that. Let's take a look.
Oh, good.
In their first collaboration, the St. Louis Actors Studio and That Uppity Theatre Company bring us the world premiere of The State of Marriage. Conceived by Joan Lipkin, the piece explores and examines the history and many emotional, religious, and social complications with marriage.
I've been thinking about the institution of marriage for a long time because it really is at the center of our collective imagination. And then, when Prop 8 happened in California in November of 2008, and the right to same-sex marriage in California was voted down by the voters in California, I realized that I really wanted to write a play. We want you to find pleasure in your roles tonight.
As part of her research, Joan traveled on the 3rd Marriage Equality Bus to Iowa in March of 2010 to witness 17 LGBT couples get legally married.
I didn't literally need to go on the marriage equality bus. I probably could have written the play without doing that, but it would have been a very different play because I was profoundly affected by my time on the bus, by the fact that people rode 9 hours, right? And that for a lot of people, their wedding breakfast was at McDonald's, right? And that they would go all the way to Iowa, but when they come back, it won't be legal in Missouri. And it got me thinking about buses, right? And the role of buses in history. I mean, Rosa Parks refused to sit at the back of a bus. In the 60s, people who were concerned about racism and segregation took buses to the South to do voter registration. Buses have had an enormous presence as a kind of political organizing tool. And so the bus was really an important idea and a historical one.
Yeah, that's one issue that certainly continues to evolve. It'll be interesting to see how your work might change in the next 10 years.
I think
when it
so.
comes to that.
See, that's what's exciting about working in contemporary performances. It's an ongoing conversation, not only with yourself, but with the wider world.
Joan, when we come back, among some other things we're going to look at, we're going to hear about your Kaleidoscope project, which is something you did at Yale University. And you have a working relationship there.
Yeah, who would have thunk? I mean, I never went to Yale, so it was very interesting for me to be called upon to make a piece there. But they were aware of the work that I do around diversity and really exploring performance techniques, so they asked me to come in and make a piece for them.
Okay, we're going to say that just a little bit later, but we do need to take a break. We're talking to Joan Lipkin of That Uppity Theatre Company, and we'll be back right after this.
You promised me the world. Is this what you had in mind?
Every choice we make has a consequence. Help EarthShare and its members restore balance to the world. Visit earthshare.org and see what you can do. EarthShare, one environment, one simple way to care for it.
I heard someone ask the other day, how did that law ever pass? But they never even contacted their legislator. My teacher says legislators are concerned about what people think and want to hear everyone's opinion, even mine, and I can't even vote yet. People ask, where's my voice? To me, it's easy. You can call, write, or email your elected officials anytime and let them know how you feel about an issue. Am I missing something?
Learn how you can make your voice heard by logging on to representativedemocracy.org.
Experience St. Louis.
I'm Steve Potter, and welcome back to City Corner. We're talking today to Joan Lipkin, founder of That Uppity Theatre Company. We're looking back on her a couple of decade career and all the different projects she's been involved in. Also, Joan, we mentioned before that you're going to be honored in January with the 2012 Arts and Education Council's Arts Innovator Award, because you are an innovator. So when you're dealing about social change, cultural diversity, what are you doing? Are you trying to change the world?
Yeah, I would say I am, and with a lot of people, the people with whom I work, and with the audience. And you know, I do believe that social change is possible. I think that people are inherently decent and have enormous powers of empathy, and they want to do the right thing, but sometimes they're afraid. They're afraid of difference. They're afraid of the unknown, things that are unfamiliar to them. And so what we do through performance is to help to familiarize them, whether it's with a population or an issue. And we really do find, in terms of the questionnaires and the evaluations that we do, as well as the incredible post-show conversations that we have, we really do find that people open and shift.
Okay, here's an example of a couple of issues, and we have a couple of pictures to look at. These are dealing with women's issues, words of choice in women's bodies, women's lives. Talk about that.
Right. Well, I've actually been involved with reproductive choice for about 20 years. My first piece that I did was called He's Having Her Baby, which was about a teenage boy who gets pregnant when his first time out with the captain of the girls' field hockey team. So it's sort of a gender reversed. You'll begin to see a theme here, Steve, in that we use a lot of humor. That other piece the photo that we just looked at was from something that I directed called Words of Choice, which was a national tour, and I directed a DVD for that was released nationally. And then a couple of years ago, we did a piece called Becoming Emily, which was about the life of Emily Lyons, the abortion nurse who was very badly injured when domestic terrorist Eric Rudolph blew up the clinic in which she was working. And so the question that we were trying to ask was not whether or not people thought abortion should be legalized, but whether or not they would condone this kind of violence, right? And also the fact that we elevate people to celebrity status when sometimes they do some really bad things.
Yeah, certainly do.
It was a rich piece.
Yeah. We're going to take a look at a video now in just a second of the big fat LGBT show of shows. And Joan, a minute ago, you mentioned the use of humor, and that is important sometimes when you're dealing with controversial topics. Doesn't humor make it easier sometimes for people to watch, listen, understand?
Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. I think it does. I think that when people are laughing, they're disarmed and they're open to the message. And we've had great success with our big fat LGBT show. We're taking it to corporations and social service agencies. We've been at Monsanto, Brown Shoe, Pfizer. We even did Amarin for a bunch of engineers. That was great fun. And the military, right?
Wow, that's something, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that clip.
Okay.
Your big fat LGBT show at the focal point on this Wednesday. From the town of St. Louis, we try to teach you in a fun-filled way. Let's try to understand a little bit. With your host, Joan Lipkin.
It's education, entertainment.
It's edutainment.
We'll have a game.
And teams. All right. Let's meet Terry. She's a truck driver from Vermont who enjoys ice fishing and sporting flannel. Now, Minerva, is she or isn't she?
I think she is, yeah.
Ooh, sorry again, Minerva. Just because a woman is employed in a traditionally male occupation does not make her a lesbian. And it gets cold ice fishing. The funnel's just practical. That thing is so gay.
That's okay, George. Here, have a seat.
Thanks.
And you're right, you know, that Javier can be so homosexual. Yeah, and you were so right about that video. It was totally attractive to people of the same gender.
Okay, wait. Why are you guys talking like that? What's going on? Making me uncomfortable.
Oh, well now you know how we feel when you say,
That's so gay.
Sometimes it's hard to be me. I feel like door number 3. Not really number 1.
quite number 2.
Don't want to offend, I don't know what to do.
Artists Warhol and Frida Kahlo.
Da Vinci and Michelangelo.
Gay folk with artistic minds.
Brilliant and creative
I
guys.
could go on.
Duke, Valentino, Versace, Isaac, Ronnie, Perry, Ellis, Halston, Bob Mackie, Yves Saint Laurent, Gabbana, and Dolce, Todd Oldham, and George.
And we're talking with Joan Lipkin of That Uppity Theatre Company, looking back at a lot of the projects she's been involved with over the years, a lot of them ongoing projects. And this next one I'd like you to talk about, Joan, and we have a photograph. This Land Is My Land. What issue are you addressing there?
Wow, okay, that was a project that we did with St. Louis Artworks. We worked with African American teenagers, and we looked at the issue of land. Whose land was it? What does it mean to be a good steward of the land? And we worked with the youth to help them develop the piece, and then we performed at the Missouri History Museum. Yeah, we looked at issues of democracy and progress.
This next piece of video we're going to look at, Kaleidoscope. Now that was the Yale project, right?
Right. Right. Yale commissioned me to devise an original piece with a number of their upper-level classmen to showcase the diversity that awaits them on the Yale campus. And that's really interesting because it is not the Yale of yesteryear. I had a Muslim woman in our project. We had a young man who was blind. There was a time when women were not admitted to Yale, right? Mm-hmm. Those days are really over.
Yeah. Let's take a look. This is Kaleidoscope.
I wanted the piece to reflect the rich diversity, not only through the participants, but also through the aesthetic choices that we made. So, for example, we have a beautiful lyrical dance piece that reflects the light on campus. We have a Rihanna-inspired call and response that names all the residential colleges.
Let go! Davenport! Ezra Style! St. Louis! Dwight and Zimmerman! Pearson! Jim Trumbull! Bradford! Jonathan Edwards, Berkeley Moore! We said.
And we even have a mini 4-part barbershop quartet that salutes the Yale motto, Lux et Veritas. I think we have something for just about everyone. There are so many stories that could be told about life at Yale and the experiences that bring somebody to this point, and we can't tell all of them. Hopefully, Kaleidoscope is an invitation for people to continue that conversation after they've seen our performance and to get to know each other better. But above all, Kaleidoscope is meant as a welcome to the freshman class to both stimulate, excite, and reassure them about the incredible experience that's about to unfold.
That must have been fun for you at Yale. And did you like living on campus for a couple of weeks?
It was really great. It was great to have a meal card and not have to cook.
No cooking.
No cooking.
We have some photographs here, Joan, on Peace Out. That's an interesting project.
Yes, that was actually the biggest project that I've ever done in terms of scope. It was the largest multidisciplinary theater, well, a performance piece that's ever been done in St. Louis. We work with dancers, poets, choreographers, visual artists, and yeah. Oh, there she is. This is not just looking at my career, it's looking at my hairstyles.
Yeah, that's changed a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, that's the whole group on campus there. Yeah.
And you're going back for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Aren't you doing some more work with them?
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm open.
This last video we want to see, and I'd like you to set it up for us, Think Tank.
That was our project that we did with people with Alzheimer's and early stage dementia. We actually had a theater class that we ran, and we did improvisation, and we sang, and we danced, and we created a performance piece.
That's hit my family. And like it has so many.
Has it?
You know, a lot of people certainly know how agonizing that is. That would be a tough one to address, I think. It's so, it's upsetting to so many people.
It's very difficult, but there's also a lot of joy and pleasure there, because when we worked with people with Alzheimer's, they were so excited to play, and they had lost a certain level of inhibition, and so they were joyful, and they were ready to engage and improvise and have a good time. So we made a theater piece, and I side coached it, but who's to say that that can't be done? I mean, who wrote the rule book, right?
Let's take a look at that now.
Okay.
Think tank.
Singing and dancing, we do a lot of joking, as you can see, and we do a lot of talking, and we talk about things that are important. And people talk about things that they've done with their life that are really meaningful to them, and that they care about, and contributions that they make, and how much they love their families, and how much they appreciate their families. And then the other thing that they talked about a lot is how much they love this country, how patriotic they feel. Everybody in this group has either served our country or is married to someone who has served our country. And so as our last thing that we want to do for you before we have our graduation ceremony, we want to sing a little song that I think you probably know, but we have choreography for it. Left, left. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above.
Well, Joan, we've spent the last half hour looking at a lot of the projects you and the Uppity Theatre Company have addressed, social issues and cultural diversity. Are there any topics, any areas that you haven't addressed that you want to?
Well, you know, I'm so open to possibilities. I just like working with every group possible. You know, we've done work around suicide prevention. We've done some very meaningful work with women with cancer called The Real Deal, where I made a theater piece with 9 other breast cancer survivors, including myself, and we toured that. I think that theater has tremendous potential to connect with people. True that movies are sort of the art form of our time, but I can guarantee you that as we are sitting here, somewhere in the world, somebody is putting on a play right now and using performance to tell their stories. And I just think it's a tremendous privilege to be able to do this kind of work.
Well, Joan Lipkin, we want to tell you to keep on keeping on, I guess. And I know that you will.
Yes, I will.
So it's been a delight to kind of look back on your career, and congratulations again on the Arts Innovator Award that you'll be getting coming up in early next year. So
thank you for the opportunity to share this time with you.
Joan, I've enjoyed knowing you. I've known you for a while. It's been fun. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Joan Lipkin, That Uppity Theatre Company. I'm Steve Potter. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.